We are live. Welcome to my video. This is going to be my thoughts on The Walking Dead Season 4, Episode 15, Us. This episode is rated TVMA, so will this video be? Like all other videos I've done on the show so far, absolutely love this episode. There will be spoilers for the episode and the ones leading up to it. Yeah, let's dive right in. I guess I'll get something, just to have the following said, so I'm not risking forgetting. Some, as usual, some really cool zombie stuff here. Love the bit where one of them, doesn't think about how it's going up against barbed wire, and I guess it doesn't, I mean, they don't seem to feel pain, really, so it's just tearing through the skin of the face. Loved seeing Bub, and, what was the last one? I know there was at least one more zombie that I thought was really great. Maybe it'll come to me over the course of the rest of recording this. I just briefly wanted to say I don't think I ever did to talk in detail about the commentary tracks for, so there was, I don't remember the number or the name, but there was an episode not long before this one that focused, on Daryl and Beth. And, there were two commentary tracks. One had one actor and the episode's writer, and the other one had the other actor and the episode's director. And, both of them were great. Loved hearing, I want to say her name is Emily Kinney. And apparently, they were so long in the trunk, they took selfies and such. And there was also a commentary track for the episode right before this one, also well worth watching. It had the actor playing Carol on it, and interesting stuff, entertaining listen. So I think, I'll briefly cover, because there's not a ton. Rick, Carl, and Michonne. I really love how even Rick is starting to really see it and appreciate it. I mean, this is not the first episode that happens, but he sees how Michonne makes Carl smile, and she plays with him. He's like, teenager becoming an adult. He still wants to play sometimes, and them balancing on the train tracks was great. And Rick is like, I'm glad this is cheering you up. We do have some ground to cover. Is there any way we could speed this up? And I appreciate the way Michonne, I mean, Carl can tell, he's smart enough to be able to see through it, but Michonne doesn't, she could be boring and just say, let's, we've played enough. But instead, she, pretends to trying to psych him out, and then purposefully, blows her own kind of, attempt at it. Because they could keep going for a long time, and she appreciates that's not, And the thing with, she holds out the candy bars, and, she's like, do you really have to take them? Okay, fine, winner gets to pick, and she puts the other one back in the bag. And then he breaks it in half and gives them. It's just so sweet. Just, I think that pretty well covers the three of them. Let's see. I think, let's cover the Claimers next. Not a huge amount to say about them either. It's interesting the way, Daryl is still not the biggest fan of, if he's going to go with a group, it has to be people he trusts. you know, he trusted the groups we've seen him with up to this point, but apparently, according to IMDb, they are referred to as the Claimers. This group still really dig the guy in charge. Though I'm not sure I 100% trust him, especially by the end of this episode. But yeah. So Daryl, you know, he has the rules explained to him, and like clearly, like I don't know if it's 100% consistently applied though. So far it has been. He's not really playing favorites. The leader of the Claimers, you know, yeah, you know, he lays out the rules, and he says if you follow them, you know, things will be fine. Most people don't break the rules. But Daryl, like, it's only by the end of the episode that he starts claiming things, you know. Yeah, and he is reluctant to give up any of Cottontail. I'm not 100% sure. I think maybe Peter Cottontail just isn't super popular around here, because the Danish subtitles turn it into... shit, I actually don't remember what that one's called in English, but the rabbit from... fuck. Is that Peter Cottontail? Now that I think about it, I don't actually remember who Peter Cottontail is. I just... The moment that he said Cottontail, I was like, oh, right, because rabbit. Anyway, the Danish subtitles use the name for the rabbit from Bambi. You know, the one that, like... Yeah, tests if the ice can hold. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, you know, Daryl spent a long time hunting this wabbit. You know, it's not duck season. Daffy told me so. So he's of course frustrated with the other guy claiming it. And I like that the leader doesn't come out and say, you know, at first it looks like he's just taking the entire rabbit and handing it to Bowman. But yeah, he cuts it in half. Very, very Solomon of him. And yeah, you know, Daryl just ends up with the ass end. Yeah, I quite appreciate the ongoing tension. Well, the tension throughout this episode. Because by the end of the episode, tension's resolved. But yeah, you know, he keeps pushing Daryl. But yeah, you know, in the garage, which also, like, I don't even... Why are they claiming cars? You don't have gas. Like, by the end of the episode, they're still walking everywhere, you know. They're walking everywhere. Because they registered the cars, you see. And but yeah, Daryl, you know, looks at one of the cars and he's like, "This is, you know, it's a fine vehicle." And then Bowman goes over, claim, and the other guys, you know, immediately claim other cars. And I don't know. I guess, were they sleeping in them? I guess that might be. Which, like, what the fuck? There's room enough in that many cars that every single one of you can have but you're gonna claim, and the leader's just gonna let that happen. Pretty silly. But yeah, you know, yeah, we have the thing with, you know, suddenly the rest of the rabbit is inside. You know, it looked for a while like Bowman got head, but you know, the rabbit head ended up in Daryl's bag, and he points out, you know, you put it there while I was out taking a piss. And yeah, you know, the leader gives Bowman a chance. You know, he's like, you're not lying because, you know, it's against the rules. And, you know, I don't know, I guess it's not impossible that Bowman was just like trying to do a Robin Hood. Yeah. But yeah, it's You know, he says it's technically not against the rules, but it's pretty shitty. You know, because I mean, stealing is against the rules, but this was kind of the opposite of that. Anyway, yeah. You know, he doesn't come right out and say it. He just hits him, and then once Bowman is on the ground, he's like, you know, you know, Daryl was telling the truth. Teach him a lesson. And then he says to Daryl, you know, yeah, I saw him do it, and I let it play out. And then, you know, in the morning, there's a lot of blood where Bowman was, and yeah, he's outside. He used to be a Bowman, and then he took an arrow to the eye. And I like the bit, like, Daryl almost covers up the body, but then just, you know, doesn't. And it is like, yeah, it's a, like, I mean, Daryl didn't want Bowman dead. He just wanted him to get the fuck away from him, you know? So, yeah. I quite like the thing about, you know, some of you are not, you know, fuck, I forget the exact words, saints, let's go with that. And then, you know, and the leader says, neither are you. You know, and that is like, yeah, I mean, under certain circumstances, Daryl at least appears. I don't think that he has that much in common with these other guys, especially Bowman. And not just because one of them is dead and the other isn't, but you can understand why someone would get that idea about Daryl. You know, when he's not around people, he kind of needs people. If, you know, they say those are the luckiest people. And, you know, on the other hand, people who eat people are the hungriest people, or possibly walkers. Yeah, I think that does more or less get us. Yeah, so yeah, by the end, right, I like the thing with, you know, there is no us. So you're leaving right now. Then I think there is an us. So get in that, you know, garage and, you know, face your tethered. Yeah. Right. By the end of the episode, the thing with, you know, why are you going to Terminus? And yeah, he explains, you know, a guy killed one of. Oh fuck. I know who the claimers are. Fuck me, that's where I saw his face before. Fuck. The guy they're after is Rick. Shit. Yeah, I literally, this isn't a bit. I seriously just put that together. But yeah, he said, you know, a guy, you know, choked out one of ours. He zombified and attacked. One of us gotta look at him, and that's enough. Yeah, let's see. So the guy who got a look at him has to be the guy that, you know, spent some time on the bed and then got enough, you know, there was a fight. Actually, thinking about, was it the leader maybe who took over the bed? Because I think his voice is also, but yeah, for sure, like, he was the guy that Rick was about to maybe sneak past or pull off, not like that. You know, when he spotted Michonne and Carl, and then Walker attack. Oh, fuck. Yeah, that's gonna be a problem. Shit. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that confrontation, I'm not gonna lie. Oh boy. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so, because we overheard them say, you know, oh, that guy deserved it. Yeah, because that guy didn't follow their rules, maybe, or something, I could imagine, is why. Yeah. Shit. Okay, yeah. I'm really glad I'm watching these episodes so close together now. Yeah, let's see. Yeah. Yeah, that just leaves the other couple of groups. So I'll yeah. Um yeah, we have the yeah, Abraham is like yeah, is talking to Tara, and yeah, he's trying to figure out why she's so devoted to Glenn, and you know, he realizes she must be into girls, not guys. Although I don't suppose, is that bi erasure? Because like technically, the fact that she's into girls doesn't mean she's not into guys. But I guess, I mean, on the other hand, I suppose he's saying, I saw you check out Rosalita, and he hasn't seen her check out Glenn. The way that she looks at Glenn is not like lust. So that might, and it's also possible he's like, oh, but you could only have one partner at a time, which I suppose gets to the opposite of bi erasure, because that's a, you know, negative stereotype. I forget what those are called right now, about bisexuals, that they are incapable of monogamy. So I'm gonna move on because I'm just digging myself deeper and deeper. But yeah, when they're walking and talking, and Eugene is like, "So, what kind of games did you play? RPG, shmup?" I forget what the last one was, but yeah, just, and you see her face, and it's like, Eugene, you are traumatizing this poor woman more than the zombie apocalypse, her father's death, and you know, losing all these people, some of whom she trusted recently, combined. So please stop. I 100%, like, if he's not literally supposed to be on the autism spectrum, he's definitely coded as that. That's just, yeah. And you know, it continues to be like, it's not really a negative depiction of such, you know. I don't know, I guess some might say, you know, the fact that he says she has to apologize, but he is also like, you know, he specifically says, you know, we're here, as like, you know, this is where they would be if they got here, if they kept moving at a, you know, what did he say, 5.5 kilometers per hour, something like that. You know, so like, he got them to where they need to go, and now he wants an apology. You know, it would be a negative depiction if he didn't help. You know, I mean, he helped. He just didn't do exactly what they had talked about. You know, or wait, fuck, I'm confused. Because they were going to. Oh, that right. They were gonna go all the way to Terminus and then wait there for Glenn, I think, was the agreement. So yeah, he fibbed, but that's, you know, he wants to make sure Glenn and Tara are safe. Right. I suppose, you know, some would say, you know, negative depiction of autistic spectrum individual, that you know, he says, you know, I really like you to Tara, and when she says, I mean, I like girls, he says, I know. You know, but I mean, there's a lot of guys who would do that regardless of being on the autistic spectrum. Yeah. Um, yeah, I kind of love the bit where he lays out all the facts and manages to convince. And that is, you know, I've known a lot of people on the autistic spectrum who, yeah, wonderfully explain exactly how things, yeah, and manage to convince people who are willing to listen to them. you know, people who are not stuck on preconceived notions about such. I think that does bring us nicely to, let's see. The tower with, you know, we have the, one of the walkers, you know, falling out, and Abraham pushing Tara away to put his body in front of Eugene. And it's very nicely done because, yeah, you know, you can understand where he's coming from. He really does want to, you know, and he apparently, like, immediately told Sasha and Bob, you know, about the mission there. So that is just kind of his opening line, you know. I know the answer to infection. Oh, by the way, I'm Abraham and this is Eugene. Yeah, and this thing of, you know, afterwards, like, Tara is moving slower, understandably. She's okay, basically, but, you know. And you know, Glenn is like, well, let's go. I mean, you guys can stay, but, you know. And Rosalita being like, you're an ass. Not even whole. He's a whole ass, okay? With a W. And, yeah, she points out, you know, she's gonna follow you anywhere, and you're gonna put her through this. You know, you're not gonna... And yeah, I thought... And you know, Abraham's like, you're not her mom. That really felt like a, you know... I appreciate the following is going to be somewhat stereotypical. I'm talking not of, like, biological, you know... It's not biological essentialism. That's bullshit. I'm talking about socialization? Fuck. I need sleep. I believe it's called socialization. You know, how, you know, boys and girls growing up are taught very different values. And, yeah, you know, Tara feels like she has to do this because it will help make things right. Rosalita is, you know, like, all of them can see what's going on, but Rosalita is the one who comes out and says, you know, this is not right. This is, you know, Glenn, you are not showing enough empathy towards Tara. And yeah, Glenn is only thinking about in-group. You know, he's only thinking about Maggie. Abraham is thinking about, you know, the mission, Eugene, and them. Just, yeah. And I appreciate, you know, later she's like, try to not be such an ass. Right, it was also great when, you know, when he sees, oh, Maggie, you know, wrote, you know, Maggie was here, and he just straight up starts, like, running, you know, and it's like, I appreciate that she might be close, but you're not necessarily going to be able to run fast enough to catch up to her, you know, but yeah. Yeah, and the thing about, you know, we've made it 55% of the way. You know, we had a military vehicle, we had 8 people, and, you know, it didn't go so well. We should go to Terminus, stock up, figure out, you know, maybe get some recruits, and then leave. And, yeah, you know, Abe is like, when he says I'm wrong, I listen. And, yeah, I think that is... Was there anything else before they make it? I think that brings us to the tunnel. So I've already said the... Yeah, I did appreciate, you know, the various goodbyes, you know, and... Yeah. Yeah, I liked Abe actually saying, if there's trouble in there, turn around. You know, he does care. He just doesn't... You know, he doesn't agree with going in there, but he also doesn't want something bad to happen to Glenn. And it is, in part, also, you know, he wants more people to take to Washington for safety. But yeah, you know, they make it some of the way into the tunnel, and then there's a collapse. And that's the thing, like, the fact that Maggie got through, doesn't mean that it's gonna be safe for you, this little bit after. Right, I also appreciate, Daryl doesn't spot it, and he wouldn't know what it was anyway, but we see, yeah, fuck. And that was Rick's group. Shit. Yeah. The Claimers. And, I mean, that is what he said. We're tracking the Claimers are indeed, by the end of the episode, they are aware Rick, Carl, and Michonne were at the start. So I guess it's good that they did speed up at Rick's request, so they don't. Otherwise, the Claimers might have caught up to them by the end of the episode. Yeah, some part of the tunnel had collapsed, and that was also really cool. This, horror house kind of, bunch of zombies stuck in the various, but yeah, they managed to stab their way through them, and then on the other side there's like a dozen or more. Very clever with the flashlight, because yeah, the walkers are not, they don't quite have human level intelligence, and yeah, I mean, there are some animals who'll, attack their own shadow, chase their own shadow, that sort of thing. But of course, Tara's leg gets stuck, and yeah, I mean, it's true. He's not going to be able to free her before the walkers get there. Even if he did, she can't walk fast enough to outwalk a walker. No one out-pizzas the Hut, so yeah, fuck. That was really intense, and the way that, slowly a couple of the walkers realized and started to walk over there, and then, this group, I really appreciate, like, it. Let's see, I guess it wasn't quite silhouette, but they're like out of focus, basically, where we see this big group, and like at first I was thinking, are those but no, there's too many for it to be, Abe, Rosalita, and Eugene, but yeah, the groups converged, which also, yeah, Maggie and the others were not that far away from there, so yeah, they spotted, and yeah, when Eugene's like, guys, check this out, like, yeah, he's just excited about seeing people, like at first, like when you see it, you think, oh, there's like a bunch of walkers. Well, like, I guess it's not impossible that there were also walkers, but yeah. Yeah, I think that might actually cover the episode. I really appreciated them cutting from that, not directly to us seeing what he reacted to. That was very effective. Yeah. Oh boy. Tuesday, I expect to do the season finale. I quite appreciate, in case I forget before mentioning that there, when I looked in the disc menu, this episode was, us or US. The next episode is A, so USA. That's, yeah, quite nicely done. Yeah. Sometimes I am like that tree that Carol, used her knife on to help with Tyrese's wound in the episode before this one. Sappy. I did think it was really sweet when Maggie said, "You'll never need a picture of me again." Like basically said, we're always gonna be together. But at the same time, it's like on this show, I don't know, because people die a lot on the show. Well, once each, twice each, I guess, if you want to count the death of them in Walker form. I did also just briefly want to say, so I mentioned in my video on the episode for this one that I didn't think that they explored the mental health situation of Lizzie as much as they could have. In earlier episodes, we did see other characters who didn't like killing walkers. Herschel and his family were in denial about it, and there were actual discussions. You know, they talked about it. So yeah, I think, you know, maybe they could have built on that, or, you know, for Lizzie, or just like, yeah, have a little bit more of a discussion, because at the end, you know, she's, yeah, I think I've said all that I really have about that. But yeah, you know, so she manages to convince him to, you know, burn the the Polaroid, and we see it, you know, crumble. And then, you know, after a PTSD flashback to the future war, Kyle Reese wakes up. I mean, Daryl wakes up. I mean, okay, I'm sorry, but that had to be a reference, right? By the way, excellent work by Greg Nicotero directing this episode.